my name is Goldman. I'm the director and founder of Goldman and Associates. Our firm has a primary focus on family law issues. Please subscribe to our channel. Should a person get a divorce if they're in an abusive relationship? That's a question that a lot of people ask, as if the lawyers are supposed to decide whether or not a person should get divorced. People, I got to tell you, we're not supposed to be involved in that process at that level. When people come to my office and they sit in front of this desk to tell me that they want a divorce, that's because they've already made the decision to get one, and they're coming to us to help them through that process, to navigate the legal aspects of that divorce. But we don't recommend to people, oh, that's happening to you, you should get a divorce. It's not that kind of thing. It's a very personal issue. It's not so clear-cut. Even if somebody is in an abusive relationship as they define it, is that the same as an abusive relationship as defined by the law? Many times you'll find that it is not. Some people think it's abusive if their husband comes home 15 minutes late from work. Some people think it's abusive if they don't have carte blanche on all the credit cards. Other people will look at that and say, well, wait a minute, that's not called abusive, that's called having a family budget. In other words, oftentimes there are different ways of looking at this, two sides to every coin. So what you think is abusive may not necessarily be abusive as defined by law. Now, in that scenario, when you say to a lawyer, hey, I'm being abused, should I get a divorce? Then you're going to have a litany of questions that are going to follow. What do you mean you're being abused? Are you being physically abused? Are you being sexually abused? Being psychologically abused? Emotionally abused? Financially abused? Because these are all different types of abuse. The question is, do all of them support the notion that you should destroy your marriage and your family by getting a divorce? Sometimes it's a clear yes. When somebody's being battered, the battered wife or spouse syndrome, those people should not be together. And they should not stay together for any reason. And they shouldn't be together for reasons of setting an example for the kids, because what a horrible example is set. So that is one side of the spectrum where one might say, oh, that's an easy yes, get divorced. But like I said, there's other sides of the spectrum. One husband may feel that he's being abused because he's only allowed a certain amount of money to spend every week. On the other hand, his spending habits may have resulted in the family being insolvent, and they're being nearly, in a situation where they're losing their home, where a lot of money is being spent on alcohol or drugs. So the other spouse says, wait a minute, we have to be more fiscally responsible, so we're going to allocate only a certain amount of money for recreational funds. Is that called being abusive? I suppose it depends who you're asking and the maturity level of the parties involved. So therefore I will tell you this. We are very rarely in a situation where we can say, oh, I'm hearing your situation and I am recommending that you get a divorce. That is really not the function of lawyers. A lawyer's job is to say to somebody, if you've decided to go down this path, here is what you're facing, here's what's involved, here are the likely scenarios, pro and con, here's the likely cost, if it can be nailed down to that. These are things, this is the guidance that lawyers provide. If you're still in a situation where you're trying to figure out, should I get divorced or shouldn't I get divorced? In that situation, if you're talking to a lawyer, you're talking to the wrong professional. You should be doing a little soul searching. You might talk to a marriage counselor. You might be talking to a psychologist. You might talk to friends and family. You might talk to a religious functionary. But talking to a lawyer is very premature if you have yet to decide whether you should even get divorced. If you have any questions about that, reach out. And of course, we'll be glad to help you out.